But right now, let's talk to John Caudwell, philanthropist and entrepreneur, a man that we have had on this show many a time, and a man who has an awful lot of common sense to impart to us. I'm happy to say that he agrees with me that this whole working from home nonsense is catastrophic for the economy. John, a very good afternoon to you.
Yes, good afternoon, Mike.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. You know, I have this argument consistently with people because, you know, I'm not ordering everybody to go back to work. I'm not saying that you can't work from home, that it's not possible to work from home. But what I am saying is that those who should be in an office because they're either in part of a team or they're part of a business which is customer focused and they need to be able to access information and talk to one another and do the proper business of whatever it is the industry they're in, those people, even though they can work from home, should definitely not do it.
Absolutely right, Mike. I agree entirely. You know, I did an article over the weekend that you may know about, and
yes.
People condemn me for saying that, well, what about disabled people? What about people in certain circumstances? There's no greater supporter of disabled people than me. And what I've said is people in principle should all get back to work.
Yes.
And then it should be an individual discussion between the employer and the employee. And in some cases, it will make complete sense for that person to work from home. In most cases, it won't. And even if the employee wants to, it's not necessarily the best thing for them. Bupa have just published a statement saying that there's a big decrease in exercise as a result of working from home, and people are eating a lot more, which is going to contribute towards obesity. They are sideshows to this debate, really, but they are valuable points, and the mental health of people working from home may well be deteriorated. And it's a matter of horses for courses. We have to look at each individual, and if there's a case for them to work from home, of course, why not let them if it works for both parties? But the fundamental thing is people need to get back to work.
Yes, well, that's right, because the collateral damage of people not working, you can see for yourself. My sister lives in New York. She was telling me, she sent me some pictures the other day of Grand Central Station, which used to be this thriving, you know, food market, incredible numbers of people going in and out of that station every single day because of lockdown and because of Manhattan and London sharing some similarities in terms of office work. You know, these restaurants and stands and places of individual entrepreneurship have all shut down. There's nobody going there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there is the fabric of society issue on this as well, but that wouldn't be a reason to stand in the way of working from home, because we have constant shifts in the way we work and the way life looks in every country in the world, and there's an evolution that takes place. But the simple fact is people are contracted to work from the office and they must go back to the office. And it's beneficial for most of those people and most of those employers. In certain cases, like I've already mentioned, there's no reason at all why a percentage of the population shouldn't work from home if it's appropriate to customer service, if it's appropriate to them and their employer, and we're not losing anything from the workplace in terms of coaching and in terms of helping juniors grow.
Because I think there's definitely a case to be made as well, and I know people don't like to make this distinction, but the public sector in particular, paid for by the taxpayer, seems to be the worst offender here. I know there are a lot of big companies that are also doing it and giving people what they're calling blended working and all this kind of nonsense, but civil service departments, surely to heck, because of the amount of money that we're paying them to do what they do, must return to work. I mean, the DVLA, for example, has been incredibly inefficient because there are not enough of them in the office.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, I don't have any statistics on that, so I'm not going to lay the blame at the public sector at the moment, but I suspect that within the public sector there's less driven, less demanding managers who, as a general rule, are more likely to go for an easy life and not bite the bullet and grab this nettle by the hand. And we need to grab the nettle. People need to go back to work, and it needs to be individual conversations with the bosses to say, can I work from home productively in everybody's interest, not just their own?
Yes. Well, we know some statistics from the civil service, and one of them in particular from the Passport Office, which has been incredibly inefficient over the past year or two, and that is that the woman who runs the Passport Office lives in Leicester and hasn't been into the office for about a year and was called into Downing Street to be told, you know, would you mind going to work, please?
Well, I suppose that's to my point of managers taking the easy life, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a manager that's easy lifing, and I'm not sure the facts about her, but she should be in the office leading from the front and leading the troops. And how can she tell her people to go back to work if she's actually staying at home herself all the time?
Yes. Well, this is why I'm very much in favour of Jacob Rees-Mogg's kind of idea, that he's putting notes on people's desks saying, you know, like, look forward to seeing you soon. I think people should be made to come to work. Some who defend working from home say, why should I spend a load of money commuting in a crowded train? Why should I spend, you know, a load of time out of my house that I could be spending working instead of travelling? You know, and I get all that. But let's not forget that even during the height of the lockdowns, many more people were actually going to work and actually doing their jobs because they can't do it any other way. You know, these guys all want their deliveries to be made on time. They want to be able to go to a shop and shop when they want. So what are all those people doing? They're not working from home, are they?
No, there is absolutely no case for the majority of people working from home. Quite the reverse. There's a very strong case for the most people to be in the office, but there's certainly a case for some people. And everybody needs to go back to work, and if they feel they can be more effective at home, negotiate with your boss, and if you've got a reasonable boss and your argument holds water, then I'm sure that person would allow that type of working to take place.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a journalist, right, a reporter, I was never in the office because there wasn't any point in being in the office. The best place to be was out and about, picking up stories, interviewing people. You know, if you had to go to the office, it was usually to do your expenses, you know. So that was another job where, you know, you couldn't have done it from home. You had to be out and about meeting people. In the same way you can't drive a train from home, you can't operate on people from home. The reason the NHS is working so badly at the moment is because there's nobody actually going into work.
Yeah, it's a huge problem, and I think this pandemic has caused problems in so many different ways. People got used to doing nothing and receiving a really good furlough payment. They had the beautiful sunshine, and I think it's bred even increased sense of entitlement within the UK population, and probably in other countries as well, an increased sense of entitlement and a degree of laziness. And before your readers scream at me, I'm never going to accuse all people of being lazy, but we know there are lazy people, and lazy people will want to work from home. And that doesn't mean, as once again, if somebody does want to work from home, that they're lazy, but the lazy people will certainly want to.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, we've all heard of cases of people saying, oh, I didn't want to come back to work during COVID because I didn't think the office was COVID secure. And they use that as an excuse not to come in. And loads of people have never been back. And I think the trouble is that a lot of companies have kind of bent to this. There's a story today saying that Goldman Sachs are going to say to their senior bankers they can take as many holidays as they want. Flexible vacations. Now, you know a bit about Goldman Sachs. We all see them as a very big and successful financial company. I'm sure these individuals make millions and millions of pounds for them. But nevertheless, it's a kind of... There has been a little paradigm shift, has there not, in attitudes of corporations and their employees. You know, when I mean, people call me a dinosaur because I was like, well, you have to go to work because you should go to work. I mean, people look at me as if I'm talking, you know, Japanese to them.
Yeah, well, it is this new entitlement culture that the pandemic has really encouraged along, and we have to remember that none of us are entitled to anything. We have to work, we have to put the effort in to get the rewards out to live our lives, and we sign contracts with our employers, and we should honour those contracts. And if we want to work from home, just make it a separate negotiation. Nobody objects to that at all. But for goodness sake, get back to work and give the customers, especially the public sector, give the customers the service that they deserve, service that was revolutionised under Maggie Thatcher's rule 30, 40 years ago. Give that service again and make it all work, because you're absolutely right, we pay all of their wages. We pay their taxes, and we are entitled to value for money.
Yeah, I've got a text here from somebody who says, it's not my responsibility to pay the wages of staff in cafes, etc. Sorry, but it just isn't. I mean, there's also a part of me that says it's a kind of community-based thing, isn't it? Where you work in a place where, you know, you have maybe regular spots that you go to, maybe a cafe or a pub or a restaurant, you know, and it actually is your collective responsibility, I think, in society, to share the goodwill that you have, you know.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, the world or the UK will be a worse place if too big a percentage work from home, because that comradeship, that sort of interaction with people on a face-to-face basis is much better for your mental health than just being stuck at home and never seeing anybody.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. John, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. John Caudwell, philanthropist and entrepreneur, who has also, by the way, recently opened his home to a Ukrainian family. We didn't get around to talking about that, but he has done that as well.